Hello everyone! This has been my most requested video ever. So I'm gonna sit down and I'm going to do it for you. Let's get started. One of my most requested videos has been to talk about my journey finding a job after my coding bootcamp. I think this is because so many people go through this experience. Job hunting on its own is absolutely terrifying. Job hunting when you switch a career, that's next level. Let me give you a very quick recap on my coding bootcamp video where I talk about my experience through that. So basically I went to a coding bootcamp here in Toronto called Brain Station. It was 3 months long, full stack development, the Marin stack, so MongoDB, Express, React, Node, JavaScript based. It was amazing. I learned so much, really good experience. And I really don't have very much bad things to say about it at all. I'm going to talk about my experience, so I want you to know this is just my experience. Everyone has their own experience and is very different. But when I graduated my bootcamp, there was this sense, I'm a very competitive person, so there was this sense automatically of need to find a job right now, tomorrow. All my other peers have interviews, everyone's getting a job but me. That's what it felt like at the time. Reality, that was not the case. Everyone was in my shoes. Some people were getting jobs because they started applying during the boot camp and things like that, but at the end of the day, we were all pretty much in the same place. It kept on being this underlying feeling for me when I started to apply for jobs that I wasn't ready yet. And I went into the boot camp with zero coding experience, nothing. Some people came in with a bit of experience and I feel like they left and were able to get a job right away because they've already had some experience, but for me, I had zero. So I really was starting from the ground up. And when I left the bootcamp, I felt like I had a good sense of the basics, but I was still missing that confidence level, that next kind of level of knowing my shit, like really knowing my stuff. And even though that's maybe not necessary to get a job, it was something that was really deterring my confidence when applying for jobs, because it's kind of underlying there, like, okay, you know what you're doing, but do you really know what you're doing? So what I did was I kind of chalked it up to, oh, this is imposter syndrome, you know, it'll be fine, just go and apply for jobs. And that's what I did. I had a portfolio, which to be honest, wasn't that good. During the boot camp, making a portfolio wasn't necessarily required. We had a final project, which was really good, but I had to spend some time after the boot camp making a portfolio. I wanted to make my portfolio from scratch rather than using something to host my projects, really to show more of my skills, because I mean, I didn't have a ton of projects other than what I've done in the boot camp. So making my own portfolio was kind of in its own sense, its own project. After I made my portfolio, that's when I started applying. So this is, I don't know, say 3 weeks after I graduated my boot camp. I had my resume, my portfolio ready, and I started applying everywhere, all my dream companies and beyond. And I wasn't receiving a lot of follow-ups. I received from a few really awesome companies. I received more of the response, we really think you have a lot of potential, we like your projects, but we need to see more. And that was kind of the general response throughout the companies I was applying to, was they needed to see more of my work. This was a really big bummer for me at the time because I graduated university, I switched careers and went to a boot camp, and now I can't find a job. And it was really devastating for me for a while. But what I did was I realized that I needed to take a step back, listen to my gut and what everyone around me was telling, and focus for a few weeks on my coding skills. So that's what I did. I really took a step back and I looked at areas that I wasn't as strong in, and I really focused on that. It was a lot of self-learning, a lot of self-discipline, and really kind of fine-tuning some of my skills that I personally needed to work on a little bit further. During that time when I was doing that, I as well made sure to incorporate my learnings into making more side projects. So I made a few more side projects. I also completely redid my portfolio. I actually spent proper time on it. The thing is, when I graduated my bootcamp, I was in such a rush to get a job that everything I was producing before applying for jobs was rushed, because the sooner that I finished producing these projects or my portfolio, the sooner that I could apply and the sooner I could get a job. But when I took a step back and was like, okay, let's just start from scratch in the sense of let's redo your portfolio, make some really good quality projects, put your full attention to that like it's a full-time job, and then apply. And this completely changed my game. So after about, I don't know, it was probably 5 weeks of doing more self-learning, more projects, getting my portfolio better, I was like, okay, I feel ready. And there was this thing in me that I was like, I'm not perfect, but I feel like I know what I know and I know what I don't know. Meaning that maybe I'm not perfect in this area, but I recognize that and I can still continue to learn in that. So I started to apply for jobs. I kept a list of the jobs I was applying to. I don't remember how many jobs I applied to, but it was a lot. Like I applied for quite a bit. And I was picky though about the job that I wanted to get. So I would at this point now starting to get some job interviews and some different companies reaching out to me. But for a lot of them, they weren't what I was looking for in the end. So I actually turned down a few interviews or turned down after I did a lot of interviews and I turned them down because I really wanted to make sure the company I found was able to support my learning and my growth. The company I ended up with, I actually started out, I was super passionate about the company. They didn't have a developer position at the time, so I actually started out as a QA. I started out as a quality assurance lead, and it was a great experience as far as touching the code and working a little bit with finding bugs and how to deal with that. But also too, I was able to apply the knowledge I learned as a QA to my development career. After a few months of doing QA, I was starting to feel really comfortable with what I was doing and feel really confident that I can move into development full time. So I went to my bosses and had this talk, and they were so supportive about the switch. It was a gradual switch that happened over time, but I guess over a few months, I became a full-time developer. So the transition was really smooth, and even too, I really am happy that I was open to starting out in QA and then moving into development, because a lot of the skills I learned in QA, I was able to apply to development. Now I am doing full stack development, working with PHP, MySQL, Vue, JavaScript, a whole array of different technologies, and it's so crazy to think how far my learnings have come from the bootcamp. The bootcamp was, I guess, almost, I don't know, a year and a half ago. It really wasn't that long ago. And it can seem like such a long time at the beginning, like, oh, I have another year to go before I'm here. But the thought of how far you can come if you really are open to different opportunities and different paths that come your way, even if it doesn't start necessarily directly in what you want to do, if there's an opportunity such as QA that you know can lead to a developer role, take it. I would definitely say take it and just kind of go with it. I think boot camps, and especially job hunting afterwards, boot camps can get a really bad rap because a lot of people rely on that piece of paper. They think going to a boot camp means I'll get a job right afterwards. And the problem is too that a lot of boot camps promote themselves as that you will find a job within 3 weeks or 3 months or whatever it is, and that doesn't help the situation either. At the end of the day, I think boot camps are a really great thing if you go in with the mindset that you will still have to work hard after you graduate the boot camp. Really understand and recognize where your skill level is at before going into the boot camp with realistic expectations of what you will receive afterwards. Because for someone like me who went in with no experience prior, I had to work really hard even after the boot camp to get my skills to where they needed to be to land a job in development. But I think like anything, if you are super passionate about it, it's a really good option to go for really fast forwarding your skills to that career change. And it's also great network and community. Once again, this is just my experience. I think with a little hard work and a lot of perseverance, you can get to where you need to be. Hope you all enjoyed my video. Subscribe to this channel, and I will see you all later. Bye everyone.